move now into the quarterbacks, my friend. So finally, the most important position on an NFL team, the quarterback. We have some good ones in this division. Obviously, we don't know who the starter is going to be for the 49ers, but let us do the top 5, knowing that we know the starters for the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals. And then let's do the 2 that possibly could be starters for the 49ers.
Yeah, so I mean, I think if you're okay with it, in this one, I don't think there's much surprise in starting with number 1 and working backwards. I think it's more excitement down at the end of the list.
Okay.
So I think that the number 1, to me, I'm going with what have you proven? What have you shown me? Not what is your potential at this point. But I'm factoring in potential a little bit. And, the Trey Lance, that's a hard one to put in this list because of the idea that we've only seen practice to this point, and we'll get a lot more information as the preseason rolls on. But in my mind, he has checked every single box that he's been asked to check to this point. So it's just about allowing him to check more boxes.
Right.
You need to say, what are the next things he needs to do in order to progress? Because he's done everything to this point. But number 1 to me is got to be Russell Wilson. I think that he is, stats would say it, win percentage would say it, Super Bowl wins would say it. And then, as much as I may want to be a homer here, I think, again, going with proven statistics, I think that the new addition to the division is the number 2.
Stafford.
Stafford creeps in there. And I will be interested to see if he can continue to do it while winning. There is something to say for those yards that get racked up when your team is behind and you're trying to come back. There's certainly some padding of statistics that happens there. I don't think that's the case with Stafford, just to be clear. But I do think that it's something to keep in mind. And I'll be interested to see how he picks up the playbook, what Sean McVay does with him, and how productive he is. But my anticipation is that he has a very good year. And then the last 3, man, that's tricky. It's Murray is still an enigma to me. So I'll be
you're not that high on Kyler Murray. This is interesting.
I'm not. I think the talent is there, but I haven't seen him put it together consistently yet.
Right.
To me, that's
for a full season,
what it's all about.
Because he had like that section in the beginning of the season last year where you're like, oh my God, he might be the MVP. Right. Then he did get injured to give him some bill, like that shoulder injury happened, and obviously he wasn't the same quarterback after that. So I mean, we haven't seen it. This is year 3 though, so we'll see. Usually that's when these quarterbacks tend to break out.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is tough. So are you with me on 1 and 2? You put Wilson at 1 and Stafford at 2?
Absolutely.
Man, I feel like I could draw straws on these, but I'm going to give the edge to Jimmy because of the production, because of the fact that he has had, the one good season that took us to the Super Bowl. And I put some of that Super Bowl on Jimmy. Certainly there are some aspects of his game that were not great, certainly in the second half. But I feel like we lost that game because we gave up a big lead. Right. We were ahead with very little time remaining. I was in Miami, very happy, picturing the celebration I was going to have that night after the game was done. And then it started to slip away. And sure, Jimmy could have completed that pass to Sanders. Maybe that would have been enough. But with the way Mahomes was just chucking the ball, I'm not convinced we would have stopped them from coming back down and scoring one more time to win it again. So I don't necessarily blame him for the loss. I think that was an incredible season. So I would put him up there. And then if I'm going with production, I guess I got to put Murray next with 4th and Trey 5th. But that is purely because of the fact that I haven't seen him in a live game yet. If we're talking potential, I put him up at the top next to Wilson. I would put them right next to each other. And I would put Kyler Murray higher on the list with potential if we were looking strictly at potential. But, at some point, you got to look at what have you done for me lately?
Right. Yeah, and it's kind of hard to argue with the list that you made. I think it's pretty accurate. Obviously, Russ is going to be number one. You know, he's the only one on the list that's been a starting quarterback and won a Super Bowl, right? So Jimmy has 2 rings, but that was because Tom Brady was the starting quarterback. But
Right.
I would put Matthew Stafford there, even though Garoppolo has taken a team to the Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford has had more consistency over the long term, and been a guy who's thrown for over 4,000 yards multiple times. At 3, I would probably put Kyler Murray over Jimmy Garoppolo, and the reason being, I don't think Kyler Murray is needs a certain system to be successful, whereas I think Jimmy is limited in what he can do. I don't think Kyler Murray's limited in what he could do. I think he could throw the ball deep. He could throw the ball short. He could run. The only thing is obviously sometimes his size gets in the way of being able. But as far as just accuracy and arm strength, I would have to give him that over Jimmy Garoppolo.
I think you're right. I think he has better tools.
Yeah. And I think when we've seen him play well, we've seen him, be successful. And that's kind of what we have to say about Jimmy as well, because we've also seen Jimmy not play well. So we can't just give him the benefit of his 2019 season and not give Kyler Murray the benefit of when he's playing really well. And I think when Kyler Murray's playing really well, he's a much better quarterback than when Jimmy Garoppolo's playing really well. And that's why I would put him over there. And then, in my heart, I think Trey Lance is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC West, but we've only seen him against the 2s right now. And that also in training camp. And to be honest, I haven't even seen him. I've seen clips. I haven't been able to see him consistently or anything like that. So I'm just going off of the word of our guys like Grant and Jack Hammer and, those guys that are watching. But yeah, man, I think other than that, I would swap Kyler Murray and Jimmy on your list. But it's sad to see the 49ers at 4 and 5, though, right? I think that if Trey could play, though, he's going to move up that list, and we won't have the worst quarterback in the NFC West.
He most certainly will move up that list. I just can't imagine him not being successful with what I've seen to this point.
Mm-hmm.
He just seems to have everything that you want from a physical standpoint, from an emotional standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, from an intellectual standpoint. It's the entire package, and it's just like I said earlier, to me it's just about checking the boxes to ensure that he's putting it all together. I mean, everyone wants to rush to put him in, but just look back at the last time you started a new job or went to a new school, and I don't mean you, obviously, I mean our audience, but think about the last time you were put into a new situation and how uncomfortable that feels for the first X amount of time. Now imagine that's being in the NFL and how much more, I don't know, just overwhelming that could be. Now, these guys have been prepared for it at a level that average Joe probably never has.
Right.
But it's still a significant life change. There's certain things in life that are the greatest stressors, and they've been studied ad infinitum, right? Death, job loss, moving. These are things that cause stress. And Trey just went through 2 of them, right? He just moved across country to the Bay Area to try and buy a house in a ridiculous housing market. He's got some coin to do it.
Right.
And then he started a new job in a new field with a bunch of professionals that are grown-ass men who have been doing this for a little while. And
competing with somebody who, it's not just like might be replacing somebody who is well beloved in that team as well, which is another added level of pressure. I agree, man. I wanted to give you this topic because I think this could get kind of spicy. So